David Ruffin had the voice, not a voice, the voice. Marvin Gaye said there was a strength in it his own voice didn't have. And on a Saturday morning in June of 1991, a limousine pulled up to a Philadelphia emergency room with him unconscious in the back. No wallet, no ID, $53 in his pockets. 10 turning points sit between those two men, and it didn't happen all at once. Number 10, Whynot, Mississippi.
An image of a man who let love slip through his hand.
Here's what almost nobody knows about David Ruffin. He wasn't even David when he started. He was born Davis Eli Ruffin, January 18, 1941, in a place called Whynot, Mississippi, 16 miles outside Meridian. Not a town, just a spot on a road somebody named as a joke. His people had been moving north for generations. His great-grandfather, John Ruffin, fought in the Civil War with the 14th United States Colored Heavy Artillery. The family came up out of North Carolina, into Alabama, then into Mississippi, looking for something that never quite arrived. His father, Eli, was a Baptist minister who drove trucks for lumber mills. His mother, Ophelia, worked out of the house. There were 4 kids, Quincy, Jimmy, Rehada May, and David. There'd been another sister, Rosine, who died in infancy. And then Ophelia died from complications of childbirth 10 months after David was born. 10 months. He never knew her face, never had a single memory of her to lose. If you've ever grown up in a house where somebody's absence was the loudest thing in the room, a woman in a photograph everybody talks around instead of about, you already understand something about how this man sang. That ache wasn't a technique he picked up in a studio. It was installed before he could walk. His father remarried in 1942 to a school teacher named Erling, and the Ruffins became something a lot of you will recognize immediately: a family gospel group. Kids in matching clothes. Everybody in one car, singing wherever a door opened. This was not small time. The Ruffin family sang on bills opening for Mahalia Jackson, for the 5 Blind Boys of Mississippi. David was a little boy warming up grown congregations for the greatest gospel voices alive. He sang in the choir at Mount Salem Methodist. He sang talent shows. He sang anywhere they'd let him stand up. But that same father was strict, and by multiple accounts, at times violently abusive. So picture it. The boy has already found the one thing that makes him feel like somebody, and he's found it inside a house that hurts him. At 14, he left, went to Memphis under the guardianship of a minister named Eddie Bush, officially to study for the ministry.
And I think it was sure. Then the whole wide world.
He was going to be a preacher. He got as far as Memphis, and the music got him instead. Number 9, the kid who built Hitsville.
All the roads were closed.
Before David Ruffin ever recorded a note for Motown, he swung a hammer for it. Stay with me, because this one's almost too neat to be true. At 15, he's in Hot Springs, Arkansas, running with the jazz musician Phineas Newborn Sr., playing a place called the 50 Grand Ballroom and Casino.
Oh, you know
He's working with horses at a jockey club to eat. He's singing talent shows under a name that wasn't his, Little David Bush, his guardian's last name, because his own didn't belong to anybody yet. He joins the Dixie Nightingales. He even fills in briefly with the Soul Stirrers after Johnny Taylor moved on. That's the pedigree. That's the same chair Sam Cooke sat in. And then Sam Cooke goes secular. Jackie Wilson goes secular. And a 16-year-old gospel singer does the math on his own future. Bush and his wife carry him to Detroit, where his older brother Jimmy is chasing music while clocking in at Ford. His first record comes out in 1958, You and I, backed with Believe Me, cut for a small label, still billed as Little David Bush.
I found sunshine, yes I did, that shone over the dark hill.
Ruffin said later, it was a different kind of music entirely. Smoother, softer, not him. Nothing happens with it. But in Detroit, he meets a songwriter with enormous plans named Berry Gordy Jr. And here's the wild part.
Whatever you want me to.
Ruffin ends up living with Gordy's father. Pops Gordy was a contractor, and David worked construction alongside him on a building on West Grand Boulevard. That building became Hitsville, U.S.A.
Thank you, baby. Thank you, baby.
He helped build the house, years before it made him famous. Years before it forgot him. He apprenticed at Anna Records, the chess-distributed label run by Gordy's sister Gwen.
All the roads were closed.
You know who was packing records right beside him? Marvin Gaye. Two of the greatest male voices in American history, boxing up other people's singles. Gwen said the thing that struck her about David was that he rehearsed like he was already on stage. He sang and played drums in a group called the Voice Masters, which at various points included Lamont Dozier and a big-voiced kid named Melvin Franklin, one of the many people David liked to claim as a cousin. He cut I'm in Love in 1961. He signed to Anna as a solo artist. Nothing, not a ripple. Then Jimmy comes off a Motown review tour with a tip.
Thank you, baby. Thank you, baby.
The Temptations need a tenor. Both brothers auditioned, both. And the group picked David after he got up and performed with them at Motown's New Year's Eve party at the end of 1963. January 1964. He's in. First session, January 9th. He'd made it, and they put him in the background and left him there. Real talk. Only 9% of you are subscribed. That hurts. We're spending hours digging through archives, fact-checking every detail, bringing these stories back to life. And if you're watching this far, you clearly care. So hit subscribe. It's free and takes 2 seconds. Now, to my subscribers, barely any of you have joined the membership. And honestly, that stings even more. You know the work we put in. You keep coming back. If these videos have ever made you feel something, if this music means something to you, join the membership. It's $1 coffee a month, and it's the only way we keep this going. Let's build this together. All right, back to it. Number 8, the song that took a year to find him.
The month of May.
For his entire first year in the Temptations, David Ruffin was furniture. The leads went to Eddie Kendricks and Paul Williams.
What can make me feel this way?
Ruffin sang background. He cut a few leads in the studio, and Motown shelved them. Not good enough. They sat unreleased for over a year. The man now routinely called the greatest voice ever to walk into Hitsville was, for 12 straight months, considered not quite it. But one person kept staring at him.
Talking about my girl.
Smokey Robinson looked at Ruffin and saw what he later called a sleeping giant, a voice that was somehow mellow and gruff at the same time, and nothing like anybody else on the roster. Smokey's theory was simple. Find the perfect song for that voice, and you don't get a hit, you get a monument. It had to be something he could belt. But sweet, melodic, both at once.
Than the birds in the trees.
Smokey wrote it with Ronnie White of The Miracles. November 1964, they cut it. December, it's out. My Girl. The Temptations' first #1. Pop and R&B both.
Well, I guess you say.
And I want you to really hear what that means. Every wedding reception you've ever stood at holding a plate. Every kitchen radio on a Saturday morning while somebody's cleaning.
Make me feel this way, my girl.
Every time a room full of people who agree on absolutely nothing else start singing the same 3 words at the same time. That's a preacher's son from Whynot, Mississippi, who was told 12 months earlier that his voice wasn't ready.
My girl, I've got soul.
Here's something else he gave that group that nobody credits him for.
My girl.
Ruffin masterminded the Temptations' 4-headed microphone stand so the other 4 could hit the choreography without crowding one mic while the lead worked out front alone.
The month of May.
Think about that. He engineered his own spotlight, built the hardware for it. 6'3", black horn-rimmed glasses. He'd throw the microphone straight up in the air, catch it clean, and drop into a full split. Otis Williams remembers the David Ruffin who showed up in 1964 as a natural comedian and the hardest working singer in the room. That's the version nobody talks about anymore. Funny, grateful, early to rehearsal. That version of him had about 3 years left.
Talking about my girl.
And if you've ever watched somebody get everything they prayed for and start coming apart the same week, you already know what's on the other side of this. Number 7, 3 years of nothing but hits.
And gone away. With her went my future.
From 1965 to 1968, David Ruffin could not miss, not once.
But everyone knows that a man ain't supposed to cry.
It's growing. Since I lost my baby. Then Norman Whitfield hands him Ain't Too Proud to Beg in 1966, and the whole temperature of the group changes.
Desperately for rain, cause rain off high.
Number 13, pop, but #1 R&B for 8 non-consecutive weeks. That record was such a turn that Whitfield replaced Smokey Robinson as the Temptations' main producer on the strength of it.
Cause so badly, I wanna go outside.
Which, if you think about it, is its own small tragedy. Smokey found him. Whitfield inherited him.
Crying when I go outside to the world.
Beauty is only skin deep. Number 3, I Know, I'm Losing You. Number 8, All I Need, You're My Everything, splitting the lead with Kendrick's. Then released the week before Christmas 1967, I Wish It Would Rain. Number 4 pop, #1 R&B. Here's what you probably don't know about that one, and it changes how the record sounds forever.
Day in, day out, my tears.
The lyric came from a Motown staff writer named Roger Penzabini, who had just discovered his wife had been unfaithful. He wrote his own devastation down on paper and handed it to David Ruffin to sing.
Face,
Penzabene died by his own hand on New Year's Eve, 1967, less than 2 weeks after the single came out. He never heard it become a hit.
Rain, rain, rain.
So that grief in Ruffin's voice, that's a real man's real ruin, being carried by a singer who somehow knew exactly what weight he was holding. That's the thing about him nobody's ever quite explained.
It might sound strange, but I wish it would rain.
He didn't perform pain, he recognized it. Rod Stewart said that record came out of the speakers and took him apart, and he'd spend years trying to sing like that. And here's the fact that reframes this entire golden run. 1967, the same year as the biggest records of his life, is the year David Ruffin first sought treatment for drug addiction.
Inside my tears, I refuse to explain. Oh, I wish it would.
Not 1975, not after the fall, not when the money dried up. At the very top, with the hits still stacking up on the shelf. The cocaine was already in the room while the world was still applauding, and nobody outside knew. You bought the 45, you played it in somebody's basement with the lights low. The man on that record was already quietly losing, and the record didn't tell you.
I gotta cry, 'cause crying.
16 years later, the Big Chill would put Ain't Too Proud to Beg back in front of a whole new generation. By then, his life had already gone somewhere else entirely.
This is the pain, oh yeah.
Number 6, what he did to Tammy Terrell. By 1966, Ruffin had already been married for 5 years to a woman named Sandra Barnes since 1961.
Take all my loneliness away, and I go from day to day.
3 daughters, Cheryl, Nedra, Kimberly. He also had a long-term relationship with a woman named Jenna Sapia that produced a son, David Jr.
Filled with nothing but gloom.
Decades later, in her own memoir, she'd write plainly about the infidelity and the abuse. That's the household. Now here's what happened next.
I miss you, baby.
In 1966, Tammy Terrell joined the Motown Revue, opening for the Temptations. She and David started seeing each other. He surprised her with a marriage proposal.
I miss you, baby.
She was happy enough about it that she announced their engagement from a stage in front of an audience. And then she found out he was already married. It got worse from there.
Get up. Ever since the day you left.
As his drug use deepened, Ruffin became violent toward her. Terrell ended the relationship in 1967 after he struck her in the head with his motorcycle helmet. 2 years later, in a 1969 interview with Ebony, she talked about the migraines that had followed her since childhood and said she believed the emotional state she'd been living in during that relationship played a part in her headaches. Tammy Terrell died of a brain tumor in 1970. She was 24 years old. I'm not going to draw a straight line between those two things because the medicine doesn't let me, and she deserves better than a tidy story. But I'm not going to walk past it either.
I miss you, baby.
Because here's where I land, and I know some of you are going to see this differently. The voice was a gift he was handed. What he did with the rest of his life was a series of choices he made. Both things are true at the same time.
Make it sound different.
I'm getting tired of sitting in the lonely room.
And if this list only gave you the beautiful half, it wouldn't be worth your time. You can love Ain't Too Proud to Beg and still say out loud that the man singing it badly hurt a woman who trusted him. By then, he'd also stopped riding with the group. His own custom limousine, with his trademark black glasses painted on the door, like a coat of arms.
Oh, you sound good. Oh.
That's not a man enjoying himself. That's a man building a shrine to himself, because something underneath is caving in, and he can hear it.
Ever since you went away, I ain't been doing.
Number 5, fired in 5 days.
And you know it. Please don't leave me, girl.
Early 1967, Motown renames the Supremes. They become Diana Ross and the Supremes.
If I have to sleep on your doorstep, oh.
Lead singer out front, group behind her, name on the marquee. David Ruffin sees that and immediately does the math on himself. He starts demanding they become David Ruffin and the Temptations. Otis Williams says no, and a group that had been 5 men splitting everything 5 ways becomes 4 men and a problem. But here's the part that complicates the villain story, and I didn't know this until I started digging.
I don't mind weeping if you'll keep by my side.
Ruffin also started demanding an accounting of the group's money. He wanted the books opened. That put him directly at odds with Berry Gordy.
I don't mind, 'cause you mean that much to me. Ain't you proud?
Motown gave a little ground. The Temptations were allowed to bring in an outside accounting firm, but that firm never got full access to the books held by the group's management company. So was he an ego problem? Or was he the only one in the room asking the question that a whole generation of Motown artists would spend the rest of their lives asking in court? Honestly, he might have been both at once. I'll let you sit with that one. Then June 22nd, 1968. Cleveland, the Temptations have a date, and David doesn't show. He'd gone to watch his new girlfriend perform instead, Barbara Gayle Martin, Dean Martin's daughter. 5 days later, he's out. They replace him with Dennis Edwards of the Contours, a friend of the whole group. And here's the detail that gets me every time. Ruffin personally encouraged Edwards to take the job. Then he couldn't let go of it. He started turning up unannounced at Temptations concerts, sitting in the audience like a paying customer. And the second the band kicked into My Girl or Ain't Too Proud to Beg, David Ruffin would walk out onto that stage, take the microphone out of Dennis Edwards' hands, and burn the building down. The crowd went insane every single time. The group was humiliated every single time. Edwards said later that the adulation almost worked, that the other 4 nearly took him back.
If I have to beg, plead for your sympathy.
There was supposed to be a return show in Gaithersburg, Maryland. Ruffin showed up late. That was it. Otis Williams has always maintained the firing was permanent from the start, and there was never any coming back.
I don't mind, 'cause you mean that much to me. Ain't you proud?
In October of 1968, Ruffin sued Motown for his release and for an accounting of his money. Motown countersued to keep him. It settled, and the settlement required him to stay and finish out his contract. He'd won his freedom from the group and lost his freedom from the company. Number 4, the records nobody let you hear.
To take the place of you.
His first solo single was a song originally written for the Temptations. Think about the salt in that wound. My whole world ended the moment you left me. 1969. Number 2 R&B. Number 9 pop. The title alone.
So I'm leaving. Yes, I am.
A man just thrown out of the biggest vocal group in America, singing those exact words while the public hears a love song. Top 10 straight out of the gate. This is supposed to be the comeback. Now watch what happens instead. Feeling Good follows later that same year. In 1970, he cuts a record with his brother Jimmy, I Am My Brother's Keeper, and Motown pushes the weaker songs out as singles. It stalls at number 15 R&B and 178 pop. He records a third solo album in 1970 and 71. It's simply called David. Motown shelved it. That album did not get a commercial release until 2004. Breaks my heart. 30 plus years in a vault. 13 years after the man was in the ground. And you know what's worse than being rejected? Being kept. Signed, owned, paid a little, and quietly left in a drawer.
Time you touch my hand.
His 1973 self-titled album was a top 5 R&B seller and still only crawled to 168 on the pop chart. That's the year he cut Common Man, a record Jay-Z would sample nearly 30 years later on Never Change.
You're clinging to me tighter than you ever.
He cut I Miss You with Eddie Kendricks. The talent never left the building. The support did. Then, out of absolutely nowhere, 1975, a writer named Charles Kipps brings him a song.
To take the place of you.
Van McCoy produces and arranges it in New York. Full strings. Faith, Hope, and Charity singing behind him. Walk Away from Love. Number 9 pop. Number 1 R&B. The only solo number 1 of his entire life. A million seller, certified gold in February 1976. Top 10 in the UK too, the only time he ever charted over there on his own. The album Who I Am went to 31 pop and 5 R&B. And listen, I'd argue that's the greatest vocal David Ruffin ever put on tape. Not My Girl, that one.
Oh, it's gonna take everything I've got.
There's a moment in the single edit where he leaps an entire octave in the middle of a phrase, straight up into falsetto, like a man stepping off a ledge on purpose. Some of y'all are going to fight me on that. Good. That's the argument I want to have.
Walking out the door. But those
34 years old, back on top, everything in front of him again. That was the last top 10 record of his life.
It's just a fear that builds within me.
Number 3, Fired by the Same Man, 14 years later. After 1977, he leaves Motown for Warner Brothers. 2 albums, So Soon We Change in 79, Gentleman Ruffin in 1980. Neither one lands. And here's a strange little footnote. That Gentleman Ruffin cover, David in the Suit, would inspire the artwork for a Wiz Khalifa mixtape 30 years later. The image outlived the record. Meanwhile, the trouble starts showing up in the newspapers instead of the trades. 1978, he's arrested at a party in a Memphis hotel, disorderly conduct after refusing to leave, released on his own recognizance, small stuff, but it's a different kind of headline than he used to get. Then the paperwork catches up. In 1982, David Ruffin was fined $5,000 and sentenced to 6 months in a low-security federal prison in Terre Haute, Indiana. The charge, failing to pay taxes on more than $310,000 of income between 1975 and 1977. Read those years again. That's the walk away from love money. the single greatest triumph of his solo career, and the taxes on it are what put him in a cell. He served 4 months and got out early for good behavior. And here's the thing about David Ruffin that keeps this from being a simple story. That same year, Motown hands him another door. 1982. The reunion album. Ruffin and Kendricks come back to the Temptations. There's a full tour behind it. There's a record cut with Rick James, Standing on the Top, and it's a real R&B hit. Every fan who'd been waiting 14 years is holding a ticket. He kept not showing up. Cocaine, missed dates, and a group getting fined thousands of dollars for the nights he didn't make. By Christmas of 1982, Otis Williams fired David Ruffin from the Temptations for the second and final time. Same man, same reasons. 14 years apart. And if you've ever loved somebody who kept getting handed exactly what they needed and kept setting it down, a brother, a cousin, somebody you came up with, you know that particular exhaustion. It isn't anger. It's grief arriving on a delay. That's what gets lost when this story gets flattened into a cautionary tale. His people never stopped opening doors. Motown, Otis, Kendricks, Edwards, somebody was always making room for him at the table. He just kept walking past it. Number 2, Live Aid, and the Grammy nod that came too late. The way you struck me off my feet. 1985. Ruffin and Kendrick, Eddie had dropped the S by then, are working as a duo, playing whatever rooms will book them, and 2 of the biggest pop stars on the planet come looking for them. Daryl Hall and John Oates had been Temptations fanatics since they were kids in Philadelphia. Hall once said Ruffin's voice carried a kind of glorious anguish that reached people on levels most singers never touch. So when the Apollo Theater in Harlem reopened, Hall and Oates brought Ruffin and Kendrick on stage with them. It became a live album and a hit single. Then, on July 13th, 1985, the 4 of them sang a Temptations medley at Live Aid. Do you understand the scale of that? The largest broadcast in the history of music to that point. Billions of people. And there's David Ruffin, 44 years old, singing My Girl to the entire planet at once. The live medley of The Way You Do the Things You Do and My Girl went to number 20 on the Hot 100, and it earned David Ruffin the first and only Grammy nomination of his life. Not for My Girl in 1965, not for I Wish It Would Rain, not for Walk Away From Love, for a live medley of his own old songs 20 years late as a guest on somebody else's record. Some of y'all just said, "You have got to be kidding," out loud. I heard you. I said it too. The partnership with Hall and Oates eventually came apart, reportedly over Daryl Hall's objections to Ruffin's drug use. He and Kendrick made their own album in 1987, and then the record starts skipping in earnest. July 1987, a night in a Detroit jail after a raid on a house, a cocaine charge. Found not guilty of possession, guilty of use. 2 years probation and 50 days community service. In 1989, After violating that probation 3 separate times, a judge orders him into treatment. He completes a 28-day program in New York. And in that exact same year, 1989, the Temptations are inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. David Ruffin is a Hall of Famer. Rehab and immortality in the same 12 months. Then he, Kendrick, and Dennis Edwards go back out on the road as former leads of the Temptations. 3 men singing their own catalog without the name. He had 2 years left. Number 1, $53. May 1991. And here's what makes this unbearable. It was going well. Ruffin, Eddie Kendrick, and Dennis Edwards had just finished a month-long run through England that grossed close to $300,000. Sold out rooms. A European tour already being planned. He'd cut a new single for a British label. He'd been living in Philadelphia since 1989 with a girlfriend named Diane Showers. He was 50 years old and working. Ruffin collected the tour money from the promoter himself, roughly $40,000 in a money belt, along with a briefcase holding his papers and a stack of British travelers' checks. He was supposed to wire Kendrick and Edwards their shares that weekend, night of May 31st. He borrows a limousine from a friend named Leinster Butch Morrell and drives off with a man named Donald Brown. They end up at a house in West Philadelphia. Police later believed Ruffin bought cocaine and brought it there. According to the Associated Press, he and another man in that house went through 10 vials of crack in under half an hour. Experts called the amount enormous. He collapsed. Just before 3 in the morning, a gray stretch limousine pulls up to the emergency entrance of the Hospital of the University of Pennsylvania. Attendants look in the back and find a tall, gaunt man, unconscious. Bermuda shorts, lime green shirt, white sneakers, no identification of any kind, and $53 in his pockets. They worked on him for almost a full hour. He was pronounced dead at 3:55 a.m. on June 1st, 1991. Nobody in that emergency room knew who he was. It took an FBI fingerprint check to put a name on the body. The voice on My Girl, identified by fingerprints. The $40,000 was never recovered. Police later found the briefcase, the cash, and the traveler's checks were gone. No one was ever charged. The death was ruled an accidental overdose. His family and friends have never accepted that version of the night. And honestly, I understand why. They buried him out of New Bethel Baptist Church in Detroit. The surviving Temptations stood up and sang My Girl over him. Stevie Wonder sang, Aretha Franklin sang, Michael Jackson quietly paid for the entire funeral and didn't attend. He's in Section 3 at Woodlawn Cemetery.